Hi, I'm Laura Brandenburg from Bridging the Gap, and we help business analysts start and succeed in their business analyst careers. And a lot of you are finding yourselves working from home these days and needing to facilitate meetings remotely and looking for some best practices for doing business analysis work, especially the collaboration part of our work in a remote setting. So I always like to turn challenges into opportunities, and I think we're in the time of a great challenge right now, but the opportunity, so what's the opportunity, right? The opportunity is that this is a time when we're facilitating remotely that we actually get to strengthen our communication and facilitation skills. So anytime that we're put in a new setting, whether that's a new project domain, a new type of project, a new, going from waterfall to agile, any sort of transition like that, new stakeholder group, new company, right? We have the opportunity to really hone our skills and to go back to the basics and use the basics to do our work better in that environment, because we can't thrive based on knowing how a certain stakeholder works in this setting or understanding the domain or some other area of expertise. Every time things change on the surface, what gets stronger and what pulls us through are our business analysis skills. And so when if we're dealing with business analysis practices online and needing to facilitate remote meetings, this is exactly the same thing. What is going to get stronger? Our communication and our facilitation skills. So we might have some crutches that we've relied on that kind of work okay in an in-person setting that will come to light in terms of maybe not the best practices, that we can now identify those and refine those. Another opportunity in this time is that if we can do this well and we can continue to be effective on our projects, you might be able to make a case for working remotely long term. And I think we will see a lot of organizations shifting more towards more allowance of remote work and seeing how work can still be done at home, because we are proving to them that it can be done at home. Or it could mean less travel if you are in a job that requires a lot of travel, say for consulting, and that's not your cup of tea, right? So there's a lot of opportunity to come from this situation. So let's just quickly talk about some best practices here. So the first thing I want to emphasize is that you should take your best and your most engaging in-person approaches and bring them online. All right. So we have this tendency to say, like, everything has changed because I'm online now and I have to learn how to do what I do from scratch. Not the case. You want, observations could have been something that you previously did by sitting at somebody's desk. That can be done online through screen sharing. Brainstorming can be done through a shared Google Doc or some sort of a whiteboard technology. Whiteboarding can be done with a lot of the online tools that you probably have available to you. Creating visual models and shared documents and using analytical tools like business processes and use cases and data models, all of those are still critically important in a virtual setting. So don't allow the virtual setting to be an excuse to not apply the best practices that you know have really worked in your environment and in your organization and on your projects. Also, don't let the virtual setting be an excuse for like a boring meeting. You want to do those things that create an interaction in an in-person setting and look for opportunities to bring those online. One really important tip, and the next thing I want to talk about, is verbalizing body language, because one of the things that a lot of us rely on, if you're, say, reviewing a document and you're in a group of you're in a group of people and you're kind of used to kind of noticing who might have their brow furrowed or who might have a sigh or kind of the way that they sit back or sit forward when they have something to say. That is a lot harder to tell online. Even if you are doing video screen sharing, keeping tabs on all those people, it's just a lot different in an online setting. And you might not always even be getting accurate information, because when somebody looks like they're looking off to the screen like this, like I'm actually looking at my second monitor right now, I could be looking at your requirements document on that screen and really trying to make sense of it. Or I could be, looking down here because I'm taking notes, right? So that body language is not going to, you're going to want to look for them looking right at you. That might not actually give you the information that they're actively engaged. Like, it might just be that they're staring off into space and it happens to be looking right at the camera. right? So the cues are going to be different. So how do you get the cues when you can't rely on that sort of intuitive sense that you might have of like reading the room or reading a person's body language? And the answer is that you have to ask them to verbalize more, and you have to verbalize more yourself. So when you're reviewing a document, this could mean more active pauses throughout. So instead of just like reviewing section by section, anyone have feedback? No, no, no. Really like pausing and asking for feedback, actually preparing questions in advance in your document, which is something that we've always been teaching. It's great for an in-person setting as well, but specific questions you can ask specific stakeholders, maybe even putting a few plant a few mistakes or uncertainties in your document so that they have something to comment on and it gets engagement. Stop after each key section and invite input. And if you're not getting any input, you might want to stop after that section and ask for confirmation. So, hey, is there no input here? Can we each just go around the table and make sure no one has anything to say or feedback on this? Can you just give me a yes if we should move forward? Right, so you're actually inviting them in versus just allowing empty space to be a kind of a tacit approval. So essentially, when you're doing these things, you're asking people to verbalize their concerns in a way that they might have normally done through body language. And it's going to work better, I will tell you, in an in-person meeting when you're with unfamiliar people and you don't know what their body language means, or when you're with kind of a stubborn stakeholder or an introverted, quiet stakeholder who doesn't, know how to verbalize their stuff, and maybe, you're not reading their body language correctly in the first place. These same techniques that you can practice online now will serve you when you're back in an in-person setting as well. Okay, and then the third area, so we talked about, still using your best practices, finding a way to bring those online, getting people to verbalize the kind of information you normally would have picked up through their body language. And then the third piece I want to share with you is really to be clear in your business analysis process. People are more naturally engaged when they know what the next step is and how the work that they are doing relates to the bigger picture. And you only know that if you've got a business analysis plan and a business analysis process laid out. So in our free workshop, The Quick Start to Success as a Business Analyst, we teach you the business analysis process framework that we use at Bridging the Gap. And please feel free to leverage that in your BA work and in your meeting planning. And you can find that at bridgingthegap.com/quick, and there are hyphens in that Bridging the Gap. And again, having a business analysis process, it's great for when you're working in in-person meetings as well. It's really always important, but it's really more important now that we're online, not only to effectively facilitate remote meetings, but really to effectively communicate what you're doing as a business analyst, why you're doing it, and what the next step is, which you might have more questions about or less certainty about in our current environment, where priorities are shifting around a bit and where companies and stakeholders are shifting around a bit as well. So making your process clear really sets you up for success and allows you to step into leadership roles in any environment. So again, I invite you to check out our Quick Start to Success training if you want more information about it. It's at bridgingthegap.com/quick, and share your comments below. What are the tips that you have applied to be really effective as a business analyst facilitating a remote meeting? What wins have you experienced? What tricks have you learned? Share them with our community by commenting below. We build this profession one business analyst at a time. We're better together. We're in this together. Your comment could inspire someone else. And so please go ahead and do that, because success starts with you. Thank you so much for being here. Again, I'm Laura Brandenburg from Bridging the Gap.